And now a 60-second improvised speech about the thrill of finding money in old clothes. Here is Alex Knight.
Ooh, it's super exciting. I think what's the biggest bill I've found? Maybe only a 20. Maybe I've only found a 20, but man, finding something in like an old winter coat, that's a good one. Of course, finding something in the jeans is cool, but that's only been a couple of days. That winter coat's the real special one. I have truly thought about putting money in old coats to find later. Um, it's exciting, especially well, no, it's less exciting because the way inflation's going, it's less money. You're losing money. It's a shit bank to put it in. But the feel of like when you reach in and you feel it, and it's that cottony, it's not paper, it's something small and it's all crumpled up. I found a little $5 bill that I had been folding. It got real small and it was really nice to find to unfold that. Sometimes you know it's money, but you don't know how much that dollar bill is, what the dollar amount is. There we go.
Good
Good.
job.
Thanks. Thanks.
Great job.
All right. Cool. Ladies and gentlemen, folks, this is a 1 minute riff by Sarah Kennedy about the benefits of being in a people zoo.
Of being in a people zoo?
Being in it.
Okay, cool.
You're in an
Okay.
alien people zoo.
Okay. There are so many benefits that come with going and living in a people zoo. Number one, the living aspect. Can you imagine if somebody was able to look at your life and recreate your habitat to the best of their ability? The ability to explore that and just be like, really, you really thought that I would have liked this stick in a jar or whatever it is that we do with bugs, that
Halfway
they
there.
would do that for us. Yeah, thank you. They would probably, for me, give me like a big comfy bed and a computer with nonstop internet access. However, the living in a people zoo, they would have to come every once in a while and be like, get off the computer, come on, interact a little bit. There's people who paid money to see you, which it's fine. That's what I do for a living now. I'm a comedian. People poke me with the stick and say, hey, come on, people paid money
5
to see you.
seconds.
So it wouldn't be much different, honestly, for any of us. It'd be great.
Yeah, time. Yeah. Nice job. I feel like the computer they would give you wouldn't be connected to anything.
It's
It would
just a big
just be
piece
a
of plastic.
laptop that they want you to play on. And you're like,
you
no,
just
I need stuff to come through this.
bite it with your teeth and throw it around the way that they do with all their stuff. Maybe it would be the
I
exact same stuff as a regular zoo where it's just like a big dodgeball on a rope that they
Oh yeah, just for you to put. Yeah, you're like, I don't want the sport in here. I love the zoo, but I do almost sometimes wish, yeah, they would poke some of those animals to get them to
come
whatever.
on.
I don't truly want that, but sometimes you're all like, this is boring. Wish they would poke him.
Like the polar bears when they get anxious and they do that. Like when for
It's
people
oh
who
man,
aren't
when they
from
just pace back and forth, you're like, the anxiety is like insane. I
for
feel
people
for
who
this
don't
one.
live here in New Mexico, we have polar bears at our zoo and we are not a climate. Polar is nowhere near what our climate is, and so they do get anxious and they do pace back and forth, which is sad. I
I
find it.
don't like it. It gives me a lot of anxiety. You're like, there's no good reason something is pacing that. I don't know. Intentionally focused pacing.
Focused.
It looks
Mhm.
like I'm getting the fuck out of here is what that energy looks
Yeah,
like.
they're like, the second I get my hands on a Coca-Cola, I'm out of here." Great, and I loved your speech about finding money. I feel it really is a thrill.
It's great.
Now that there's no cash really anymore, that's gonna happen, like, less and less. Even if you found an old debit card in your coat, it would be like, "Ah, I canceled this, like, last year."
An old debit card.
Oh. Anyway, let's get started.
Let's do it.
Welcome to the Goofball Coalition, the podcast that lives where improv and stand-up collide. And now, here's your hosts, Alex Knight and Sarah Kennedy.
Oh, it's the Goofball
Mm.
Coalition!
Welcome.
It's the podcast where stand-up and improv give each other wet willies.
Little high fives and wet
Yeah.
willies.
Oh, yeah, we're
Both
like
at the
friendly.
same
Yeah,
time. You're
noogies.
like,
Yeah.
cool. Today we're talking about the audience.
The audience. Oh, real fast before we jump
Oh
into
yeah.
that. That intro, the voice of that is local comedian Matthew Blood Smith,
I
who
was gonna
is
ask.
fantastic. And I told him very specifically, make it sound like the Winamp noise. Do you remember when you would get Winamp on your computer and it would be like Winamp?
Oh yeah, I do remember, but I don't remember that voice. Yes, now I
Yeah.
do.
He also didn't really get the reference either, and I had to send him a YouTube video. But
Isn't it funny when you're like, this reference that was just you? I
yeah.
remember when your grandma always used to say this thing. You're like, no, I don't remember
No,
your
I don't
grandma.
think my
Uh-uh.
grandma never said that. So I'm Sarah. You're Alex.
Yes.
Do the thing. And today we are talking about the audience, and I'm sorry to have interrupted you.
Oh,
So
no, not at all, not at
go
all,
on.
not at all. That's all I had. We're talking about it.
Mhm.
So
Oh,
now
yes.
we'll talk about it. We'll begin. So the audience, what pretty important part of both of our crafts,
Yeah.
I would argue. Pretty important to every art form. Yes.
Interesting. Yeah, but a live audience versus just like an intended
Yeah. Making a
consumer.
song and having it really important. It's important to share it though. That is like maybe the ultimate part of any piece of art is the share. Is that a big deal?
Yeah.
Is writing poetry for yourself, for your own process, that is still art and it is still helpful, but the share does seem like a big important part of the reaching out to the ether and saying, "Am I alone?" or whatever.
It's just I'm just such an extrovert that I can't imagine doing something that wasn't intended to be like seen and interacted with. But
Uh-huh,
there are
uh-huh.
people like people discover like envelopes full of poetry that people didn't even realize that the person wrote or
Yeah.
but it's like tree falls in the forest kind of stuff where it's
When I hear something like that, I'm like, "Share it." Like this person I think that's it, is if you need to get it off your chest, getting it off your chest to someone else seems like the end, I don't know, the full circle of it all,
yeah,
but I'm
and
not
why
sure.
even if you wrote it and put it in an envelope, why didn't you just burn it? Like you
Mhm.
eventually somebody was meant to find
I
it
do know
or
people that do that. They write poetry and burn it, and
oh yeah, I that sounds like very
it's
middle school
super
girl.
cool. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's both. It's super cool and super it's like it's neat to have that ability to control your art in that way and not need to share it, but yeah, it seems like the point is to get it out, to close that circle. I'm coaching some teams right now, some improv teams, and they are divided. They're very new and they're divided in like how many of them want to perform, what that looks like, when that is, and if they just want to do it for the group making some art in a living room therapy stuff, which is also super valid. But to them, I did say, I think it's important to put a date out there and to put the art up
Yeah.
because, especially again, improv and stand up, there's something about that final connection with the other people, the oohs and ahs, the laughter, whatever it is. It's important for
It
some
is.
reason. I can't always put my finger on why.
They say stand up doesn't actually happen until there's an audience. So you can be
Yeah.
telling jokes to yourself in a mirror and that's not stand up. You could write jokes down um even for TV and that doesn't TV is not stand up. That's a
Mhm.
script. That's a completely different art form. You have to be a single performer. I guess you could do it in duos. But presenting your stuff in a back and forth situation with an audience,
Mhm.
which is why open mics even exist because you could think what you're saying is so funny to yourself, but you can't know until you say it to a crowd.
Yeah.
Pretty important stuff. So you can't resent them and you gotta really embrace them. That
Yeah.
is the key.
Yeah, it's I think similar to improv. It only is when that full circle happens, when there's people looking at it and this, and we'll rehearse improv. Me and my buddies will rehearse, but it's weird. It's weird when there's no audience there to improvise with a person and create this stuff. It's like without someone seeing it, yeah, there's something really weird about it to create these worlds and then let them go. It's valid and there is again therapy in it, but it's not the art form.
And the
It's like practicing sketching, but
mhm.
it's like it's not doing the actual thing fully, I feel, until you put the stakes in there.
Yeah, for sure. And you need the audience because the whole magic trick is that you say, this is completely made up on the spot. You are going to provide us with some stuff
Yeah.
that we're going to use. And otherwise, how would you believe that this was really made up? Because you came in off the street.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. And we also want that. We really want the audience to help and to put some investment in it. When they, I don't know, is it similar in crowd work when the audience is then part of the show? Because before it's like, these are my jokes and they could be for anyone in the world. But now I'm in Tallahassee and I'm looking at you. And now this is the Tallahassee part of the show. I don't know.
and you wore that hat.
You
Yeah.
wore that hat, motherfucker. So yeah, there's something that inclusion is the best, especially when it's done when we can connect and we're all in on the thing together in this special, unique moment. I think that's it. Is that's what makes improv and stand up unique is that the audience, the environment, all that is always changing. Movies can be put on an airplane, you can watch it in a theater, whatever, but this has to be right now.
Yeah. That idea of being in the room you're in and making it seem like that's and I wish sometimes that stand up people would say stuff the way that improvisers say at the beginning of their shows too, where it's like, this will never happen again. This is only this crowd right now to us together making an experience. And so then you want to be in the room that you're in as much as possible. And you want to point out the guy with the hat because you'll never have that same group of people
This
there
is that
sharing
thing.
it.
This
Yeah.
thing has a guy with a hat in it,
Yeah.
like this specific one. So let's enjoy tonight. Yeah,
Yeah.
this meal.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can you tell us, like, yeah, is there a time that you have been either thrown or encouraged? Like, how has the audience affected you in big ways ever?
Oh, always. That's they're always different, and sometimes they want blood, and sometimes they just want a goofy goof time, and then a million things in between. But I would say the audience for the roast battles that we do at Revel, those are night and day different. I don't know. They're fun. Everybody wants a good time, but
Yeah.
they're still different, and they expect different things than a crowd that comes to the blindfold show, or like when we do Weeding Out the Stoned, and it's just basically a big game show for the audience to just figure out who's not high during the
Uh-huh,
show.
uh-huh, uh-huh.
Um, but each of those have their own rules and regulations, and you learn what the norms are going back and forth with them. And ideally, when you're on stage, you need to figure them out as quickly as possible, and then you need to appease those people, which is probably why a lot of people pleasers get into our art forms, Alex.
Mhm, mhm,
Now that I think
mhm.
about it,
Imagine that. So many
but
people to please.
so many exactly. They really love me now.
Mhm, mhm.
But yeah, I'm trying to think. Has there same thing with improv? Has there ever been a time where you guys are like, "This is not working. We got to change gears here"?
It's too hard sometimes. It's such a big beast. We're going in a direction, and you will have a moment where you're like, audience isn't with us, but we can't all stop and say that. And this person might not notice or whatever. And sometimes, yeah, that thing just goes, and you almost don't want to change it. You go to an art museum, you're like, I don't fucking like this sculpture. That's fine.
They're like,
Like,
"Oh,
just
one
let
second."
it.
They just bring out a new
Yeah, you
one.
don't
They're
want
like, "Do
that
you like
sculpture
this
to
one?"
change. No, let it be a thing they don't like. Yeah, sometimes it's too hard to change that beast. When you're stand up, you have that, I think, ability to switch it very easily. You're in control. You can hear it, you can change it, but it's hard to have that group communication or whatever.
Yeah, and it's
Yeah,
almost like one of those things too, where it's like my scene work in stand up is to be with the audience, and your scene work is really truly like with your partner and the other people that
partner.
you've got on stage. And so the more you can drill down on that, honestly, the more you should hope that the audience comes along with you.
Yeah, and that's it. That's been what we've been focusing on even more specifically recently is and it's like all the notes in improv are the same. They are always the same and they will always be the same. You just need to hear them again and again. It's about your partner, connect with them, relationships, love, all this stuff, connection. And when we have a good time together, like the audience will have a good time together. I'm sure hopefully the same's here. If you and I are having a good time, then in theory it should translate. And if we start to think about trying to please those people, we're screwed. That said, when they give us oohs and ahs or whatever, like that is breadcrumbs telling you're on the right track and to maybe give that more. That is, they like this part of the sculpture, give them more of that piece of it or whatever, more of
Yeah.
that style.
Yeah, that's awesome. Okay, this is a question that we have written down for this one. Like, how do
Yeah.
you read the room when you first get on stage?
With
You guys have, I
everything?
mean,
This
yeah,
is weird, but with everything, you
mhm.
feel everything. You have to be present, super present, and just feel them. But without, you don't actually try. You just go out there and you exist and you can feel their energy, feel their eyes, feel their whatever.
Do you ever peek and look before the show to be like, oh,
Yeah. Often, yeah, I'll look out just out of curiosity. Yeah, I think early on it's don't do that, do that. Now it's I don't give a fuck about anything. But yeah, I want to see who's out there. I want to see if there's friends out there. And like in the past, maybe that would throw me or something. Sometimes I guess it still can, depending on who's in the audience. But no, I'll peek at them and I'll like sometimes get a gauge and be like, cool, there's some kids in the front row or like whatever. Yeah, you can get some like demographic gauge and feel like maybe you can start to guess what they might like. And again, without planning it, because it's improv, but still, you can be like, cool, they're that vibe. And that vibe is such a, there's no words for it. It's just, that's how they are tonight. Great. I think I can, I don't know, it's like a good sommelier or
I know
something.
exactly what they want.
I know what you want. Oh, you got some cheese there. I know what's going to go with that. I know how to pair that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's cool.
Similar for you? How do you feel them?
Kelly and I almost have like superstitious ways of finding out like before a show even starts, like how the crowd is going to be. So because she's so often at box office, she'll message me and be like, "Oh, these are a lot of first timers tonight. Like it's a
Yeah.
lot of," and then I can hear them in the crowd because our green room, we leave the door open and it's so close to the stage that you can always hear everything that's going on out there, and they
Yeah.
can also hear everything that's going on in there.
Yeah. Yeah.
But they sometimes if they just like you can see them, we have security footage too that's like directly on the audience, and so like really during the show all we're doing in the green room is just watching them watch us. Like,
Oh,
are you
fun.
having a good time? Is this good?
Good and bad. It's too much. No,
Yeah,
I love it.
it's a lot of input, but you can see them before a show if they're just like sitting there quietly and the music's all like bumping and there's a slideshow, like
Mhm.
they're just sitting there not talking with the person they came with, or it looks a little like a Twilight Zone episode, then you're like, okay, we're gonna really have to open these guys up. And then if they're chatting with each other and they're joking about maybe I'll get on stage myself, or they're being goofy goofs themselves, then it
If you see
usually
someone
are,
do that, you're like, it's a
yeah.
good show. Someone holds a
But
fake mic in the
some people
audience.
will run up on stage and want to be like, blah, and then like the mic's hot the second you walk into dry heat. Maybe this is
Uh-huh.
terrible information to
That's
say
bad
out loud, but
information to
yeah,
give.
that's okay because I'm backstage and I'm watching them. So the second somebody runs up, I just turn it down like immediately
Uh-huh.
on our sound system. But or they want to take birthday pictures on the stage or that kind of stuff.
Mhm, mhm.
Usually that means that they're in for a good time.
Yeah,
Sometimes it means that one of them is going to be a real problem and they want to be the star of the show. And
sure. See, we get to do that when we have a birthday. We find out the box office will be like, someone's here on a birthday. We'll be like, cool. We're gonna
ooh.
call them up and put them in something. And like, and for sure, I think, God, as painful as that idea can be, sometimes it's so fun when we had someone come for a birthday and we did a thing called Day in the Life where we interview them about their day and we do like an improvised version of it. And what a cool gift for that person that they get to walk away with, whether they liked it all or not, a weird curated little piece of ethereal art.
For them.
And I think one of them recently called someone like a bean boy or something. And if their friends are going to call him bean boy forever, there's certain things that you're going to be able to pull or whatever. Um, oh, bead boy. That was one of them.
Bead boy.
Anyway, but like all kinds of, yeah, I love interacting with that way. And I forgot. Yeah, we do. When we come out, we say, how many of you have been here before? How many of you have not? And we at least get an audience clap that lets us know half the people are new, half aren't. Sometimes we do a bow at the end of our show. We do all these games and we do a bow. And people that know the show, when they hear that song and the lights come up and it's all of us standing there quietly, not doing anything, they start to clap. But oftentimes there's no clap. We bow and then they start to clap
Oh,
and
yeah.
you just don't know. But there's moments of terror where it's like they did not like the show.
Oh,
And we
boy.
bow and they go, oh, they didn't know it was over until then. But yeah, and I don't think we don't always ask who's seen an improv show before. We say who's been here before, but it might even be better to say who's seen an improv show before and start to get that information because yeah, it's an experience. Like same thing with stand up. You almost have to, if there's first timers there, teach them how to watch stand up, teach them how to watch improv.
Yeah, we have an in-house host. His name is Tyler, and he's unbelievable, the best host in town. And I would go to fight for him to have that title. But he sometimes when it is those they're just sitting there quietly, I'll feel like you have to teach these people how to be a comedy show. Like you have
Yeah.
to tell them like you laugh out loud and you clap for things. And most of the
Uh-huh.
time, people will ask you questions, but the answer is just woo, or you
Yeah.
don't have to be like for me.
Yeah.
Like
Or even a
and-
reminder of like, we can see you.
yeah.
Audience,
really can.
someday we can see you if you get on your phone or whatever. We're right here. It's not whatever.
Oh, it's crazy too. I can see this is the backstage stuff people get into because when the lights are down, our security carriage turns to like night vision.
Mhm.
I can see when people look at their phone because your front camera will give you a little blasty blast from
Yeah,
the
yeah.
little infrared. And so I can literally watch an entire crowd go, what's going on? Like,
You can go, hey, that joke, you got 3 phones for that
yeah,
joke.
3 phones for that one. Yeah.
Uh-huh, yeah.
Your phones per minutes were pretty high on that one. But
Huh, yeah, you should do some night just a rating and see who gets the least phones. Kind of huh. Yeah, I don't know. What are again those cues there push you or whatever that we get like groans? Have you ever been told like no? What's like the most you've been fed back from jokes?
What a question to ask me. Because, okay, so I did a corporate, like a holiday party one time with Kurt Fletcher, who was an incredible comedian. And I'm not entirely, nobody even told us what company it was for. They just said, come on down to the Sheridan and you're going to perform for their holiday party. And he gave me time because he was supposed to do an hour. And he's, that's an insane amount of time to do at
Yeah.
a holiday party where people just want to get up and dance. So he was like, you do 15 and I'll do 45 and we got this. And I got up on stage, and this is before I moved to New York, so it was a long time ago. And I only had so many jokes, and I get to some joke about Dr. Oz. Because he was still a somewhat normal man to talk about. And then, as the premise to that joke, I explained who Dr. Oz is, and I was like, he's like Oprah's little pet doctor. That's all I said,
Uh-huh.
and which is a throwaway little thing.
Uh-huh.
And this guy in the audience, he looked like the neon sign of the cowboy in Vegas, like the one.
Uh-huh.
So he went, boo, Oprah, like really loud. And I was like,
Ooh, Oprah. You're like, I was digging on her. Like
yeah,
it wasn't even
mention her.
wasn't really a pro. Anyway.
But it was something because she got in trouble with all those farmers about saying cows and mad cow disease and like all that. It was a whole thing. So I'm imagining, I believe it was something related to that. But the rest of my set did not go well because he was like the thought leader of that group. Like he was, whatever he
Gotcha.
just, everybody would look at him about whether they could laugh at stuff. It was the weirdest situation. So that's fine. I don't mind if I don't connect with the Vegas Cowboys, but the farmer man, although I do love farmers and I dress like them in homage, but Kirk gets on stage And he has really, really great one-liners, and it's just one after another. And one of his premises is just like, dudes name their junk, like, what'd you name yours? And it's like a little crowd work moment. Little crowd work moment about your genitals. But then he goes to the cowboy guy and he's like, what did you name your junk? And the guy is like off his rocker by this point and doesn't even answer it at all. He just stands up and he runs at Kurt with a knife and then grabs Kurt by the front of his jeans and takes the knife right to his undercarriage
Uh-huh.
and threatens to cut off.
As a joke?
I guess it was a joke, but it was a real knife and
Hilarious.
it was a real moment. And it was a thing where it was like a real, he really threatened Kurt with a knife. And I think looking back on it, we could have maybe had said, "Oh, that guy's a little off because of the
Sure.
way it responded with me." But no, how do you? And then what's crazy is he got threatened with a knife. He got the guy to sit back down, and then he continued to do another half an hour of jokes. He did the entire set, and didn't
What
even
a
like.
hero. What
I
a
know,
hero in what a
man.
weird backwards world. Yeah,
Yeah.
where you're a brave man. For telling more jokes. I love it though, because it is.
Yeah, but I don't know if you can really foresee that something's
No.
going to become a problem like that, because we've had a
No.
couple other hecklers like that. And we had a guy yell racist stuff one time,
Yeah.
and we had to. Kelly literally grabbed him by the collar of the shirt and just threw him out on the street.
Hell yeah.
But you don't know until something just really
Something
goes
strikes
off.
people.
Mhm.
We did a show called Catgut Strung Violin with my theater company. It was a silent film, Buster Keaton style, like comedy about war. And we opened on Mother's Day. And we had wine in the lobby,
Oh.
and some people were drinking in there. And we get to this towards the end of the show, and there's this bit where these 3 soldiers are dehydrated, they're dying, they're left alone, and they're so thirsty that one of them starts to cry, and the other 2 see the tear, and they go and they drink the tear, and they're so excited that they're like, "Let's make this guy cry some more." So they start like finding bits to make this guy cry, try to make him laugh, cry, try to tickle him, all this stuff. And we're doing these stupid bits to make this guy cry so we can drink his tears. And this lady in the audience goes, "Not funny." Like barely audible. And we're like, okay, we keep doing it. She's like, "Not funny." And then she stands up. She's, "I have a son that just got back from Iraq, and this is not funny. This is like," and it's a silent stand-up improv. We could find a way to stop, but we were in this play. We made this play of bits. So we just kept doing them and got through it. And yeah, just terrifying though to have someone tell you, "Stop making your art. Please stop." Or threaten you with a knife. Same thing. I don't want this anymore. I don't know.
Wow.
It's tough. It's
Yeah,
tough.
that is one of
That was
those
the point
things.
of that art, by the way. It
Yeah.
was like we were making jokes about a thing that you were not supposed to make jokes about, and that was the point. After you were supposed to laugh, and then you were supposed to go home and go, "Ooh, that wasn't funny.
Yeah.
That was not funny." The lady caught it.
Very
She just caught it too early. We wanted to catch it on the way home, and she got it during
In
the
the moment.
show. You know,
Yeah,
but
see,
yeah, scary stuff.
that's
And
a
you
hard
feel
one too, because you can't
feel
change
bad.
gears. Yeah.
No, we didn't even have a voice. Literally, we had nothing we could do. It was funny because the director came back and she was like, "Cool, if that ever happens again, we'll stop the show. I will come out. I'll say something and we'll reset or whatever." It never happened again. It was just that night, but like definitely terrified us. We were scared of doing that show a little bit or moments of it because of that for a bit.
Would you ever do that at an improv show now? Would you ever come out and Zach Morris freeze?
I mean, there's just been the team is so good about flipping that stuff intelligently. Like we did a piece the other day. It's like a bar pickup kind of scene, and we get information from the audience about what's your name, and then the improviser will have that name, and they'll make a joke about the name. One of the things we ask the audience is, "What do you look for in a partner?"
Oh.
And then in the scene, that character will have the same want as that person. And the guy said, "Thin hips." And the 2 performers playing were 2 ladies, and they did not like that.
No.
And no one did. No one did, but they were very much cool. Got it. And then they did the scene, and when it came in the scene for that moment to happen, the characters, "What do you look for in a partner?" And the person was like, "Well, before I met you, I was really into thin hips, but that was so shallow of me and so stupid. And now I see you're this beautiful person and blah, blah, blah." And just tore the guy apart in this very smart, loving kind of way. And we have this ability to, yeah, if someone says, "I don't know, this doesn't happen anymore," but even back in the day, it would be like, "Can we get a relationship with 2 people?" It'd be like, "Gay." And it would be
Just
like,
gay.
okay.
All right.
And what they wanted was like something. And we would show them a scene about 2 people that were gay, and it had nothing to do with
Really?
the scene. It was, they happened to be gay.
Yeah.
But it's a loving, whatever. Like they wanted gay jokes or whatever. I don't know.
They wanted Chuck and Larry.
Yeah.
It makes sense.
Yeah.
What else about the audience? They're so important. We could talk about them for
Yeah, this has got to be, there's going to be a part 2, part 3, part 4 because they're everything. Yeah, I love them. I
I
need
love them
them.
too.
We've have talked about often, do you blame them for a bad show? Is it the audience's fault? Is it your fault? Whose fault it is a bad show? It's very easy to blame the audience.
But when they're good, they're so good, and I love them so much. So
I think that's it. Anytime I'm mad at them, the amount of love they have given me throughout my life, I love the audience.
I
Definitely they're in the benefit for me. And I think most performers.
agree.
Otherwise, you wouldn't be out there. If you didn't like them, you wouldn't be out there anymore.
I would like to see somebody argue us about this right now and just see how far their career really gets them.
Yeah.
Although
Huh.
Larry David, man, he would show up at like shows like he'd be booked on, and then he would give it like not even a full joke. He'd get in one sentence of it, and if he didn't like the crowd's vibe, he would go, nope, and then just walk away.
Yeah.
So
Maybe he's
can get
saving
really far.
everyone. He's saving everyone the time. I know where this is going. Yeah, I think it's interesting, the idea of clumping the audience, your whole career, clump them into one thing and kind of average them or whatever.
Yeah.
And yeah, I would say I love them. They're good people. They're supportive. They want to see comedy. This is the thing. We do a short form improv show, and then we take a 5-minute intermission. The end of the show happens. We do a short form show. It ends. Then we say, but we're going to come back. We're going to do an encore in 5 minutes. Leave if you want to. But if you want, we're going to do 20 more minutes of long form improv.
Cool.
And almost all the time, almost everyone stays. And it's been weirding me out. I'm like, you want to see more of that? I love it. But how weird are you to want to see more improv? But I don't know. They do love it. People are coming out. They're coming downtown to see stand-up, to see improv. They want to laugh. They want more of it. And it just shocks me when they love what I love, because I feel like I'm a weirdo. And if I like it, I don't know.
No, I think you guys do a good job. So
Oh, thank you.
that makes sense.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, let's go to the third segment real fast.
Let's do it.
As of right now, Patreon scoreboard still 1-1. That might change. And if it does change between now and when this comes out, I will dub over us, maybe with Matthew Bloodsmith's voice even.
Oh, that'd be good.
But please support us over on Patreon. Also, if you haven't subscribed to this podcast, do it.
Please do.
That a lot. And rate and review us. And what we do the same stuff pretty much every week.
We got a lot of stuff going on. Our theaters are both pumping out stuff all the time. Check out our websites, I think.
Yeah, theboxabq.com and dryheatcomedyclub.com would be good ones. And I mean, that's great. We love you, the audience. We're just so
Yeah, they
thrilled
are.
to have you. But yeah, we'll see y'all next time on the Goofball Coalition.
Thank you so much for listening.
All right.
Cool.